Hello everyone, welcome back to part 4 of the Tableturf tier list. I am Jovin, a top level Tableturf player, and today we'll be ranking cards with sizes 12 and 13, and I'm excluding the 312s for the next part. So let's get started with Hero Shot. A pretty good opener on Lakefront where it can activate its own special, and it does have some nice combos with stuff like Power Clam and Badmouth. I think it's a really good card. Next is the heavy Splatlings. The Splatlings are super good. They can work as openers in a lot of maps because they have a lot of range. And they're kind of like tri-stringers where they can kinda go diagonally and take a lot of space. So they really are one of the better mid-game options. They can often be used as very aggressive cards and they can combo with a lot of really good cards as well. I'm gonna put them in best tier. Our next cards is Tentabrella. Tentabrella has some nice combos and I see them often in base combos. With stuff like the Jellies and with Checkerboard. And quite a lot of stuff actually. They don't have a lot of range and can kinda be hard to use as anything except base combo cards, but I'll put them in good. Up next is some really interesting cards. These are all the Jellies. The Jellies are combo cards. Some good examples include stuff like Ouroboros, Big Man 1, and Big Man 2. And the fact that you can have up to 3 of them makes them very consistent to find before it's too late. There's some really good cards. Merch is the next card. I think Merch is probably the most important piece in the checkerboard decks. Like this combo is just insane. And you can do it with a lot of checkerboard cards. But Merch is kinda like the centerpiece of it almost. Now checkerboard decks in general are pretty weird, but I don't think they're like entirely useless. And they can work well in certain maps. I think Merch deserves to be put in really good. The next card is Seku, and I think it's a decent card but nothing too special. It's used a lot in Mask Mansion where it can combo with Harmony. It combos with a lot of socket cards as well. Alright, next is Anarchy. It can be hard to place Anarchy in the mid game. It does combo with a few cards like Harmony, Breadcrumbs, and the GoTubers. But yeah, it takes up a lot of space and can be hard to work with. I'll put it in niche. And now we're gonna have a nice party with Octodisco. Octodisco is a really unique card. I think it works best as a turn 2 option in certain maps, where you can kinda like defend and go aggressively at the same time, and you can sort of box in your opponent's card, especially if you win the clash. So yeah, a lot of the times you can kinda just win the game turn 2 by playing a good Octodisco. Octodisco is also a pretty good opener on certain maps like box seats and over the line, and as you can see, it's a pretty good fit for Lil Yad. However, it takes up a lot of space and can be very hard to actually put down or use in base combos. But I think it goes into decent tier. My boy Octo Commander is next. I see Octo Commander mostly in socket decks, and it does self-activate against the edge of Double Gemini. But it does have a weird shape that can be hard to fit and work with, but it still doesn't reach far enough out to be like a good opener. So I don't see it used that much. I'll put it in niche. The next card is Steelhead. 99% of the time you see Steelhead, it's because you want it to fit into Captain, or it's because it's a free special in Double Gemini. Either way, I think it's a good card. And up next is Moss. Moss is a good combo tool that can activate itself pretty easily against a wall, with stuff like Scrapper and Octostamp and Inkjet. Not very significant outside of the combo potential, but it's a pretty good combo. Deserves to be put in good. Whistler is the next card. It works pretty well in Gemini as well, and has a nice combo with Scallop. You can build a deck around this kind of... You can build a deck around this kind of Scallop holes with stuff like Drizzler and Mr. Coco, and it works pretty well. Feel like it belongs in decent. The next card is Flipper Flopper. Most of the time when you want to run this, you can just play Shiver 2 instead, because it's just bigger and has an easier time to activate its own special. Maybe sometimes you'd want to run both of them at the same time, and it does have some combo potential, but yeah, I don't see it a lot. I'll put it in niche. Up next is Goldie, and that's also quite a good combo card. Most common combo with it is with Harmony, but you can also play it with cards like Mr. Grizz and Light Tetraduelists. A good card, I think. The next card is Mothership. I think Mothership is mostly an inferior version of Tower Control Tower, and it is harder to activate its special compared to Tower Control Tower, but sometimes it can be nice to have both of them in your deck if you want to. Still, Tower Control is not that popular, so it's very hard to put this in anything but very niche. Up next is the Rainmaker. I think Rainmaker is mostly a combo tool, can be used very well with Dapple's decks, and especially with Lil Yad. Rainmaker and Lil Yad can also be played like this. Still a pretty weird shape though, and I don't see it used that much. But I think it's a bit underrated, I'll put it in decent. Shelly and Donny is up next. Now Shelly and Donny has the most diagonal reach out of any card. The only other card with the same amount of diagonal reach is Blattercolor Screen, which is a 312, so you don't really want to be using it like this. So yeah, that makes Shelly and Donny extremely aggressive and good at taking up space, especially when you want to go diagonally. And if you use it against a corner like this, it's pretty easy to fit a Lil Yad here, and you can activate both specials. I think Shelly and Donny is really good. But it's not really as secure as Heavy Splatling since it leaves an opening here in the middle. The next cards are the Dreadbringers. I have already showcased them in a lot of combos in the previous parts. There's some nice compact combo cards, and I think they barely deserve really good tier. Up next is Heavy Edit Splatling. Again, it's a nice combo card, which can be used with the Nova, Splattershot, and some other cards. It even works with Fry 2. I think it also goes in really good. And now we have the Dynamo Rollers. The Dynamo Rollers are very beginner friendly, probably the best common openers in the game. In certain maps they're actually like the most broken stuff in the game. Like just look at how good it is in X-Garden, you can just completely block off your base. They're literally the only cards that can do that effectively, still functioning as good openers. And they're very easy to work with and combo with. You just need like very blocky or line cards. 7 long, so they do take a lot of space very effectively. They're just overall really good cards, and the only thing that's really holding them back is that they're only 13 size, so they're not really as big as you want from an opener, but other than that they're really good. Even though I do think they fall off quite a bit at top level, they're still so good, especially in a few maps, that I think they deserve best here. Next up are the E-liters. Now these are 7 long, which is really nice. They can combo pretty well. I feel like they're a bit too skinny and small to be effective openers. They're not skinny enough to be really flexible like the E-liters or the Chargers. But they're still really good. Next card is Hydra Splatling. Hydra is kinda like the Tri-Stringers and the Heavies, which can be used to go around certain cards. Hydra is also a pretty good combo tool and works very well with Steel Eel. I think it also deserves to be put in really good. The next card is Sheldon. I don't see Sheldon a lot and I don't think I've ever really used it. I guess it can kinda work with Octavio and Checkerboard and stuff like that. It just kinda feels like a worse Tent Umbrella, just because of where the special space is. Put it in very niche, honestly. And here we have Takaroka. Takaroka is a good socket card. It's basically like a bigger sploosh. You can really do some nice stuff with Shiver 2. And it's very powerful with the Chargers, because you can put it against a wall like this and very easily fit Chargers in late game here. I'm not gonna lie, I think it belongs all the way up in best tier. The next card is Enperi. Enperi is extremely good at being a combo card. And the most common way to use it is with Octobomber. It forms a really nice combo by themselves here. But that's mostly only useful in Main Street, because it's hard to fit them anywhere else. But you can play Enperi with a lot of other stuff, you don't really need Octobomber to make it work. I think it's a really good card. Speaking of Octobomber, now I'm gonna rank that. Octobomber used to only really be played with Enperi. I think it's a bit better now, because it can be used with Marina. But I'll put it in decent. And now we're gonna be balling with Octoballer. I think Octoballer is a bit underrated. It's pretty easy to find combos with it. And I personally really like it being used in Girder, because it can fit around the starting space like this. It's a meme card, but it really do be rolling around. I think I can put it in good. And now we got Flyfish. It's extremely difficult to actually activate Flyfish special. If you put it against a wall like this, you need a burst bomb, and even if you don't put it against a wall, you still need like at least 2 other socket cards for it to actually activate. Yeah, it's very tough to actually play this. I'll put it in niche. Because if you have stuff like Junior or maybe burst bomb, it can work. The next card is Big Shot. Big Shot is mostly a tool for base combos. I've seen it paired a lot with Gnarly Eddie, and also with Harmony. It belongs in niche. And now we got Griller. I think Griller is pretty hard to use outside of this one combo with the shielded Octotrooper. I haven't really seen it be used for any other reason. Now we got Madmouth. Madmouth is also pretty popular for beginners, and it does have its uses. You can quite often just activate the special when you clash with the opponent. You can also just use a Splat Bomb. I think the main problem with Madmouth is that it relies too much on actually drawing Madmouth early. Say you have this base combo and you want to play something down here. Maybe your first thought is to play Madmouth, but what if you only draw Suction Bomb? Like, you can't really defend this space super easily. You kinda need to rely on Madmouth. Compare it with some other combos. If you instead decide to do something like Splattershot Nova, do Heavy Edit, not only is this a bigger combo, you don't really need to draw one before the other. Another example could be something like Ballpoint. Another example could be something like Ballpoint and Rapid, because you could put Rapid down here and Ballpoint down there. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. Yeah, that's kind of my problem with Madmouth, but with that being said, it's still a card. Once you do get down Madmouth, it's almost always a super easy combo that is very hard to actually interrupt. So I think I'll still put this in very good. Next card is Tower Control Tower. I kinda already talked about it with Mothership. It's a very similar card. I think it does have some potential as a combo card in maps like Lakefront like this, and maybe Cracker Snap. I think it's a decent card. And our final 2 cards are Annie and Spike. I'm gonna rate them at the same time because they're basically mirror cards almost. I mean, I have seen some combos where Annie is the only thing that works. And Annie is also a bit more versatile just because you can actually rotate it. So I think Annie is the slightly better card, but they're mostly used for the same purpose. And that purpose is just filling up the board with checkerboard that you can use later. You know, stuff like Abd Octostamp and Merch. So yeah, there are also some key pieces in checkerboard decks. These 2 cards and Merch, they're some pretty good combos. Very space efficient. So I'm gonna put them up there with Merch in really good. That was it for today. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you all in the next part. Bye.